A very happy Friday and welcome to the Early Edge. I am the Counselor of Cash and we had a great Thursday, everybody. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. Looking like 10-4 yesterday, but don't forget there were some extra plays given out on the primetime edition last night, including my plus 900 parlay, which ended up hitting. It was really, truly a great day. Sometimes we have losses, sometimes we have wins, and we want to celebrate the wins for sure. A great day from everybody, and I see everybody in the chat. This is a big show today brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. And frankly, I think we got to get right to it because we got a full house. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Big Pick Energy Friday.
Let's go! Week 7! October 12th is almost here! Woo!
Well, it looks to me like Mike and Buckets in particular may require a chip me up.
Good morning, Sia. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Sniper. Good morning, Snake. Good morning, Early Edge fam. You know, way back in like July and August when we were trying to look ahead, everybody kept circling this day. Some people said, don't you dare get married on October 12th. Tell your family goodbye on October 12th. Well, you know what? Whatever your plans that you had, I know what you're doing. You're sitting down and you're taking in all the college football greatness. Week 7's finally here. Let's go.
Wow. Hey, Buckets, even Mike cracked a smile on that one. What's going on? How you doing? Is everything okay?
I don't know what's on October 12th. I just have nothing to relate to on this chip me up. The energy's obviously there. Chip, always seen him, makes me happy, but I have no idea what's happening tomorrow, so I'm just kind of going through the motions right now.
Chip?
Well, all right. So there in American college football, sometimes in a college football season, we get a day when some of the biggest, most recognizable, most beloved programs are all starting to clash against each other. So, your team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, in a top 3 matchup. So there's 3 teams that are at the top of the rankings. It's kind of like a table, except it's actually, like not points, but, assigned on how good you are. So 2 of those top 3 teams are playing each other, Ohio State and Oregon. That's out in Eugene. You've got Penn State going cross country to play USC. That's a Rose Bowl rematch. You've got Ole Miss going to play LSU. You've got Tennessee going against Florida. I mean, that's like one of the oldest rivalries that you've got. And then you have, at the very end of the day,
do you believe?
Oh, baby. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, Colorado, playing host to Kansas State. Buckets, dreams will be made. Nightmares will be had. This is the kind of day that makes us fall in love with this big, beautiful, dumb sport. It is chaotic. It is confusion. It is passion. It is 18 to 22-year-olds or 38 if you're Cam Rising performing under immense pressure for just 60 minutes of football. It's the Red River rivalry. Oh my gosh, Texas and Oklahoma too.
Chip, help me out here real quick. Give me a Serie A comparison between Ohio State and Oregon. What is that like in Italian soccer?
Okay, so
just so I can understand how big of a deal it is.
Ohio State would be Inter, and this would be like Oregon would be like when Lazio's running hot.
Okay,
like
I'm excited now. I get what we're doing here. This makes sense.
Yeah, like a lot. When Lazio has its most talented roster and they're starting to get real chesty about it. So that's what I would say is what we've got here.
Perfect.
All right. Well, that was an amazing breakdown. Real quick before we get to picks. And by the way, we got a lot of college football on this show, including some Friday Night Lights action. Mike McClure, congratulations. San Francisco 49ers covered the 3.5. That was your big pick on yesterday's show. Your reaction to that game real quick.
Yeah, it was incredibly good performance from them. The game somehow looked a lot closer than it was. Whether it was a missed call from the officiating on a punt that would have set San Francisco up, in range to score for sure. They allowed a pretty impressive still. Anytime you return a kickoff for a touchdown, it's impressive. But they did have a little bit of a breakdown there and allowed that game to be a lot closer than it really was. But yeah, they just absolutely dominated Seattle in that game.
Sniper, most eyes are going to be on Padres Dodgers tonight. You've got a couple picks in that one, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. We got a lot of picks to get through. I do want to start. Chip, I'm going right back to you for Friday Night Lights. UNLV has been a team in the news over the last couple of weeks, particularly when Sluka left the team. Team is still riding pretty high. What are we playing?
Oh, we are going right back to the UNLV team total. We had UNLV Syracuse over last Friday. We had UNLV -1.5 right after Sluka left the team, and they left absolutely no doubt blowing Fresno out of the water. And that's because Malik Williams is the better quarterback for the Rebels. He unlocks the offense in a way where the downfield passing attack just wasn't there. Ricky White, the UNLV wide receiver, is the big name to know because he has now emerged. He's catching like 10 balls a game after just being someone who's only going to get like 4 or 5 receptions given the way that they were handling things. I look at this matchup and I just think that there is going to be against Utah State. Remember, Utah State let Boise State hit its team total in the first half. Boise State had 49 points at halftime when they played Utah State. This defense is really, really leaky. I don't mind even taking the full game over as well because we've seen Spencer Petras and the Utah State offense continue to throw the ball even when they're getting blown out. But I'm going to isolate the thing I am the most confident in, and that's UNLV, Malik Williams, Ricky White going out there and putting up points.
All right. Wow. Boise State getting it at halftime is a compelling piece of your argument. Danny Brasco is in the chat. Ask him anything you want. And that wouldn't just be fight night related. It would be football related. He has been really sharp this year. Buckets, I'm so thankful for you because for a variety of reasons, interception props, namely, if I'm being honest, but you have 2 soccer picks, both of which I can pronounce. So you have the floor. Thank you very much.
We'd probably have a bit of an issue if you couldn't pronounce these teams, considering these are, I think, countries. But let's just jump into this deal. Let's talk about some Nations League action this afternoon. And we're going to start with the matchup between Ukraine and Georgia here. We're taking both teams to score. Go Dogs, whatever that means. We're going to start with both teams to score at -115. It's important to remember that Ukraine does not have a home field advantage here. There are no matches being taken place internationally in Ukraine. This match will take place in Białystok, Poland. So just know that home field advantage doesn't exist right now. But what does exist is a Ukraine side that still has some very talented attackers and not very many talented defenders right now here. Both teams to score at -115 is an absolute gift. I would have played this at -125, -135, -145 for your Ukraine team that just doesn't really care. 2 teams with very talented attackers, 2 teams with very poor defenses. Love a BTTS look on this one. Then for our second matchup, we're going to the game between Hungary and Netherlands. Go Dogs. And we're going to take Netherlands over 1.5 team total at -135. It's a little bit of juice here, but considering Netherlands just put 2 past a German squad that is kind of on fire right now under Julian Nagelsmann, I've got no problem backing Netherlands here. Hungary, a decent team, but unfortunately, a team that is missing 2 of their starting defenders, 1 to injury, 1 to international retirement. They're kind of redoing what they're doing right now, trying to find a new squad, bring up the next calling of players here. And Netherlands is going to take advantage of that. Netherlands might score 3 or 4 here. So if you want a ladder, feel free. But at the very least, put a unit on that 1.5 team total.
All right, laddering. Another thing that came in yesterday was the Tyler Lockett ladder. Not all the way up to 80 plus, but he hit 50 plus at plus money and 60 plus. Sorry to change the subject. And Buckets, thank you again for countries I can pronounce. Ukraine, Georgia, Go Dogs, and Netherlands team total over 1.5. We'll hit that up again on the recap screen. And I do want to mention, speaking of picks, Chip just gave out a Friday Night Lights pick, but he's got 2 more on this show in college football for Saturday. And so does Mike McClure. But next we go to the Major League Baseball playoff. Sniper, like probably, I don't know, you tell me, is this the most compelling game of the playoffs so far tonight? You've got a couple of plays in Padres-Dodgers.
Yeah, I think so, especially since it's a game 5 and especially since this is a nice kind of blossoming rivalry. For years, it was not a rivalry. I mean, I'm sure that Padres fans thought it was a rivalry, but I think Dodgers fans kind of thought the Padres were a joke. But Padres knocked out the Dodgers in 2022 when the Dodgers won 111 games. Now there's beef between the teams, especially stemming from game 2. So it's pretty fun. Something about this series that I have found interesting is the whole concept of momentum. I think going into the series, a lot of people picked the Padres, such as myself, and then the Dodgers won game 1, and it was, oh, the Dodgers are going to win the series. Then the Padres won game 2, and it's, hey, the Padres are going to win the series. Then they won game 3, and it's, hey, it's over. And then game 4 happens, and the Dodgers blew the Padres out, and now I think a lot of people are looking at the Dodgers here. They are actually decently favored here. But I'm going with the Padres here as underdogs. I had them to start the series. I like their pitching matchup a lot better with Yu Darvish on the hill on full rest, as opposed to the Dodgers, who they're doing the whole thing again. Dave Roberts thinks that, hey, it's gamemanship to not tell the other team what he's doing. My hunches are going to start Yamamoto, and Flaherty will be available in relief. Maybe they'll piggyback Yamamoto. Either way, I like the Padres pitching side a lot better. I'm going with the Padres here at the plus money. Also, Fernando Tatis Jr. has gone nuclear in the playoffs, and he hits really, really well in Dodger Stadium. He's got a flair for the dramatic. Everything lines up here. If I think the Padres are going to win, I have to think Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to have a big day, so I'm going to go over on the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Look, in his regular season career in Dodger Stadium, 34 games, he has 12 home runs, 23 RBIs, 24 runs scored. In games 1 and 2 in Dodger Stadium, 5 for 8 with 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 5 runs scored. In the playoffs, 11 for 22, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 8 runs, and that's in 6 games. Of course, Tatis is going to have a big game if the Padres win.
I love it. And I know somebody in the chat is going to ask you, rightfully so, is there somebody you'd lean on for a home run tonight?
Tatis.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
I thought that was inherent in there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
If that's how we're playing it, it lines up. Of course, he's going to be the home run play. But if you wanted somebody from the Dodgers, of course, Ohtani makes sense.
Yeah, Ohtani is unbelievable. Speaking of home runs, BetMGM has a way to cash in twice on any home run prop in the playoffs. Place a straight bet of at least $10 on any MLB player to hit a home run, and you win a share of a daily $50,000 in bonus bets in the BetMGM bullpen jackpot. Here's how to do it. Log into BetMGM and place a straight wager of at least $10 for any player to hit a home run. If that player hits a home run and it lands in the bullpen, you'll win a share of $50,000 in bonus bets. Log into BetMGM for more details. Very interesting promo there, and we've only got so much of baseball season left, so take advantage of it. I got to take advantage of a Mike McClure pick, 2 more picks from Chip Patterson, and a pick from me in golf this afternoon. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
We are back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I do want to point out we have a lot of people watching, so thank you very much for watching. Thanks for participating in the chat. I do want to say, though, please hit the like button as well. We got a 6-to-1 like button to viewership ratio. I'd like to make that fraction a little bit closer together. All right, Mike McClure, you're going to a football game this weekend. Talk to us about that and maybe whether or not you have action in that game.
I do have action in the game, and for some full disclosure, I bet this game before I even knew I was going to the game. We're headed to Baton Rouge. We're going to go Death Valley night game. It's a big sports bucket list moment for me personally, so very excited to be there for that one. But I backed Ole Miss here, -1.5 in the first half. Know some of you have been asking for first quarters. If you want to play the -0.5 point in the first quarter, I think it's fine. But considering the hostile road environment, I like the additional possessions for Ole Miss in the first half on this number better. Now, in this game, you do, as Chip has reminded us a few times, sometimes you do have to throw out some of the data in some of these big spots. I'm not throwing out the data just yet, though, because it is favorable for Ole Miss. When I look at this matchup, LSU rates 72nd in college football in total defense. Ole Miss rates number 1. Now, I think LSU is definitely better than 72nd, and I think Ole Miss is no shot that they are the number 1 defense in college football. It is all relative to the competition that they've played. But the thing that's troubling for me for LSU is that 72nd ranking with who they've played, in particular, the pass coverage rate. We have 134 teams in college football. They rate 112th in terms of pass coverage. That is concerning to me because they do not have a top 10 defensive line that's putting pressure. If you give Jackson Dart time to throw, that's where I think the difference in this one will be, at least early. I don't love Ole Miss playing with leads in the second half. They get a little too conservative. So I like this spot for Ole Miss to simply be leading the game at halftime. That's basically what you're betting on a -1.5 in the first half. I love this particular spot for them. I do think they are the better team. And again, it's really just the concerns on the defensive side of the ball for LSU. Yes, it's a very, very hostile road environment. It is the homecoming game for LSU. It is their celebration of 100 years of Tiger Stadium. And if you've known anything about college football, it is definitely an electric atmosphere, one of the most, if not the most difficult for a road team. So again, that is why I prefer the first half line on Ole Miss. Again, Ole Miss continues to be one of the best teams scoring points in the first half of football games. We're going to back it here, -1.5 in the first half.
Okay, we're going to have another pick in that game from Chip. Chip, I do want to ask you a chat question. Would you take UNLV -18.5 at -115?
Yes. I like the team total better because you'd
Mm-hmm.
be basically you're defending against the back door. And again, the fact that so they've got I think his name's Jalen Royals. Utah State's got a wide receiver named Royals who you remember Utah State had an issue with their head coach this past summer. His name's Blake Anderson. He's suing the school. He was fired. There was a big, controversy with university policy. I would like not to be named in a lawsuit. I'm not going to comment further. But Royals was part of an offense that was very good. And he's basically one of the only pass catchers who's there. And in the Boise State game, when Ashton Genty has 49 points at halftime, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? They still threw the ball. Utah State still threw the ball 41 times in that game. And like 15 of those attempts are going to the one wide receiver who can play. And so if UNLV is up by a bunch and if they just start sitting back and they're just trying to, play soft and get through, I think Utah State's going to keep trying to throw punches. And because of that, that's why I would lay it before I would take Utah State. But that's what you'd be defending against, is you'd be defending against a backdoor cover along the way. So again, I like UNLV team total over as my best play here, just because I think UNLV's offense against Utah State's defense is the one thing that don't have the kind of variables that even a full game total or even a full game spread might have.
And Mike, before we get to my pick and then Chip's two picks, somebody asked, I believe it was Max Profits, first half -2.5. Would you treat that the same as -1.5? In other words, would you take that as well?
So it's definitely not the same. It's close. At that point, I would probably pivot to a full game -3, which is available. Despite still, again, liking them early in this game, I will say the -1.5s are still pretty widely available. So I would do your best to shop for that and potentially wait. So, this is a night game on Saturday night. Typically in these spots, the line is going to move to the home underdog in that particular primetime matchup. So it's a decent shot that if we see the pivot from 3.5 to 3 everywhere in the market, it's 3 in a few places, 3.5 in others full game. If we see that pivot to a full or down to a 3, you're typically going to see that first half line move back to 1.5 in all the other spots. So I think you're in no jeopardy of it going to 3 in the first half. So I would wait it out and potentially grab it a little closer to game time if you don't have 1.5.
100% true, especially with that atmosphere, Mike. It's very likely if you see it at 2.5, again, shop at other books, but it'll probably drop back down. It certainly won't bump back up. All right, I'm going to go through my pick really quick so we can get back to college football. I've got a round 2 3 ball. Lost my round 1 3 ball thanks to an incredible chip in from Cam Champ and him being one of the best putters on the course yesterday. I'm going to Doug Gim this afternoon. This is around 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Doug Gim -130 over Callum Tarrant and Austin Cook. Long story short, Doug Gim was one of my first round leaders. I like him in this tournament. Really like the ball striking. He's going to control the ball. He's going to keep it in the fairway, and his approach play is pristine. Callum Tarrant and Austin Cook just aren't very good as it compares to Doug Gim. We actually saw that play out yesterday. Their ball striking, their just general approach metrics and short game metrics were not as good as Doug Gim. So even though this is -130 in a 3 ball, which I typically would rather find something close to even money or plus money like I did yesterday, I just don't think Callum Tarrant and Austin Cook, even on an easy course that has some variance, I don't think they're the caliber of Doug Gim. They're going to find trouble a lot more than Doug Gim. Doug Gim's going to pile up a few birdies here and there. So give me Doug Gim -130 in a round 2 3 ball over Callum Tarrant and Austin Cook. We got to go right back to football. It's a great time of year. We got 55 days straight of football. We got a 1-day break with a bunch of college basketball on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then we're right back to football for like 2 months in a row. So Chip, you got a couple of Saturday picks for us. One of them we just heard about from Mike, but let's start with Pitt.
Oh, yeah, we're going to start with the Pitt Panthers, where I don't know if you have paid much attention, but Pitt's found an offense again. They had one of the worst offenses in all the power conferences last year, fired the coordinator, and they went and hired a guy named Caden Bell from Western Carolina. And if you are familiar with that level of football, you know that the Catamounts are very creative and very explosive. He showed up with a couple of players from Western Carolina, including running back Desmond Reed. They also pulled Eli Holstein out of the transfer portal 2 cycles ago, and this offense has absolutely taken off. Now, what I'm also looking at here with Pitt against Cal, remember Cal is the other part of this, because as Cal was having its heart ripped out of its chest by Cam Ward in Miami late into the night, Pitt was already home after beating North Carolina to improve to 5-0. So after the late night, they've got to fly all the way across the country to play a Panthers team that is just absolutely surging with confidence. The same way that Cal's defense was picked apart by Cam Ward, I think Pitt's offense can have that same kind of success, and I do worry about the emotional letdown factor. Now, my other piece of this is also a little vibes related, because Ole Miss has performed better than LSU. Ole Miss has a better defense than LSU. Ole Miss, when it is fully healthy and running hot, might even have a better offense than LSU. But college football is not played, in a simulation by robots. No, it is being played by humans. And when Ole Miss and LSU play, the hate is so strong at home, because the home team in the Ole Miss LSU rivalry is 10-2 straight up. The home team has covered the spread in 9 of the last 10 meetings. Brian Kelly is 12-0 at night at Tiger Stadium. Brian Kelly is 16-1 in general. And LSU is coming out of an off week. Is it going to be rest? Is it going to be rust? I'll tell you what's got me more concerned. It's Ole Miss. Ole Miss is coming out of a no. Well, maybe it was a week, but no. Maybe it was a week. But no. This is the 7th straight game for Ole Miss since starting the season. 0 off weeks, 2 road games in a row. Their offensive line has been a little bit banged up. Their best wide receiver, Trey Harris, is dealing with Achilles injury. And Jackson Dart, last couple weeks, just has not been as productive and been just a little bit off. So if you're going to give me 3 and a daggum hook, with all the ways that this series has been, give me the home team in one of the best environments in all of college football. My vote for the best environment, Tiger Stadium at night. Tigers plus 3.5.
All right. We got some conflict, but we can hit both of those bets with Mike McClure.
Oh, yeah, we can thread the needle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I might actually bet the thread the needle there. And for some full disclosure, I will be in LSU Tigers colors for the game. So I have bet on Ole Miss. I will be wearing the LSU colors for this one.
I think that's the way to play it. That is 100% the way to play it. You want to walk around, I don't even know if the east or west side. I might text you if I can figure it out. But last time I was there was one tailgate set up where they had like a big like converted sort of double-decker bus. And they've got like a full like hibachi grill that's like a huge like square. And so you can get some food. They'll give it to you and then go sit up on the bus. And when you're sitting on top of the double-decker bus, you can see out the entire tailgating atmosphere. I mean, it is tailgating Valhalla there in Baton Rouge. It's incredible.
Hey, I want to get to the recap screen because I don't want the show to get too long. But if anybody does anybody have anything they need to get to in the chat, answer a question? If not, I am going to answer. Sniper, go ahead.
Very fast. Somebody asked about pitcher props tonight. I would probably stay away. It's a game 5. Both teams have a lot of bullpen availability because of the day off yesterday. The Dodgers don't have any confidence in Yamamoto right now coming off that shoulder injury. I would just avoid the pitcher props.
All right. And Riley Gates asked me why I'm doing more 3 balls than 2 balls. It's because of this time of year, the swing season. There's not a lot of 2 balls, round 2 balls offered, frankly. And to the extent they are, they're not universal across the sports book. So these lower level tournaments, once we get to January and we get the big boys back on the PGA Tour, I'll have a lot more round matchups rather than round 3 balls. But it's really just the time of the year. That's why we're doing these, which is going to mean I'm going to have a lot more plus money plays because that's just the nature of 3 balls. But in this case, I do have the -130 on Doug Gim. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. I'm on Doug Gim, -130 over Callum Tarrant and Austin Cook. Later on this afternoon, they're out there playing this one in Utah. Padres money line +120 from the Sniper and Fernando Tatis Jr. over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at -135. Buckets, thank you. Ukraine, Georgia, both teams to score -115, and Netherlands team total over 1.5 at -135. Ole Miss first half -1.5 at -110 from Mike McClure and Chip Patterson. UNLV team total over 42.5. Pitt -3, LSU +3.5. Of course, that UNLV game is today. It looked like in the chat we had a couple of new people saying, hey, this show was awesome. So thank you very much. Hopefully you hit the like button, but more importantly, hopefully you come back to all these shows. Go to SportsLine on YouTube. Make sure that your notifications are on so you get an alert for every single show, including the prop show, the famous prop show, which is at 5 o'clock this afternoon. If I can, I'll jump into the chat before my show goes as well. But that show is invaluable. You're going to want to catch it. You're going to want to be a member of SportsLine. I've got some props to put up this weekend as well. I've been rolling in that department. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have an amazing Friday. On behalf of this entire crew, Buckets, Sniper, Chip Patterson, Mike McClure, and of course, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 9s and 10s. Have a great Friday. I'm the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge, and we rest our case.